Well, the weather is quite nice. There's actually rain in the forecast. We got crops that are up out of the ground. So I've been in-crop spraying this afternoon, but let's get the biological genocide machine converted over to feed things. Now, of course, if we're going to put fertilizer out with the genocide machine, probably the first thing that we should do is maybe put fertilizer in it. Now, all this looks kind of complicated, but it really isn't. We'll go over something, we'll make it really simple. So in this tank, 750 barrel, 33,000 US gallon roughly. We got a valve on the bottom. We follow that hose into the pump. We got a three-way valve here. We put it towards the fertilizer side or to the water side over here. So we just turn it to fertilizer. And it comes out of the pump through a 50 mesh strainer. And either we can go around like that, or we can go through the helix filter, which is like 130 micron. We use that for actually spraying through the fan nozzles so we don't plug them. We've got a meter here through the chem handler, which we don't even need for putting fertilizer through. We were using it earlier to pull fertilizer to do our in-crop spray, and we have been doing a pre-seed burn-off as well. We can smash jugs in there. It's been a busy machine today, but we don't need any of this thing today. Nothing at all. So let's get things started. The very first order of business, of course, is to be fashionable. It may not be fashionable, but not stinking and smelling is fashionable. Okay, I hooked the hose up. That takes two hands, but let's start here. We're going to open the valve, make sure the drain is closed, and we drained out the leftover fertilizer. We're going to stop here, open the lid, let it get adjusted to the light, make sure the bypass is closed, switch this to fertilizer, open the fertilizer tank. So now, like I said, liquid's coming out of here, following that hose, going to the pump from the three-way. Ah, silly me, I left the helix open. Not perfect. Okay, we'll see if this girl will come to life. Oh, it will. I'm gonna wait a few seconds. These are really great meters, no moving parts, self-calibrating, but these light-sensitive buttons are kind of picky sometimes. So that's at 0. You can hear liquid flowing, going into the tank. And we could probably let gravity do it, but I'm lazy. That's coming in there at almost 800 liters per minute. There's a reason I had a 2-inch vent into here, otherwise the tank would pop like crazy and pop the lid open, because that's a lot of fluid. So we put out just under half of our total fertilizer goes out with the sprayer this way. It allows us to spread out our risk a little bit. We only seed place about half of it, 12 gallons roughly. And then if it does rain and growing conditions are good, we can put more on. And it has to be done early though, but we've had a nice wet spring for a change, which has been great. So we're gonna go ahead and throw another 8 to 9 gallons here tonight. I know it doesn't sound like a lot to some people. You know, in the States somewhere, they'll maybe put down 10, 30 gallons on a wheat crop, but we're only growing 30 to 40 bushel wheat here. We might only get another 2 inches of rain for the whole growing season, so 8 gallons is probably actually quite sufficient. Like I said, self-calibrating meters are pretty sweet. Trucking along 850 liters a minute roughly. We're gonna be looking for just about 6,000 liters to fill the tank. While we're waiting for the tank to fill, let's talk about the nozzles we're gonna use here. So this is a flat fan nozzle. This is what we're using to actually spray to put fertilizer, foliar product out, like a herbicide, for example, or fungicide, something like that. This is an air induction nozzle, actually. So that center tip right in the middle there, that's where the fluid actually comes out. Now this cap here, has a little hole in the center, goes like that. So what happens is when fluid is pushed hard through that hole, it creates a vacuum or a venturi on the inside. And these little holes on the side here, right here on the side, one on each side, air is actually pulled in there and air is then put into the liquid. And so every bubble is hollow. And so what that does is it gives you bigger blobs, bigger bubbles, better coverage, and those blobs are less likely to drift because they're a lot bigger, whereas if they're small, for whatever reason, they evaporate. But if we were to use that nozzle, putting fertilizer out, we would get leaf burn like nobody's business and actually could kill the crop. So what we're gonna use is this streaming nozzle. It's got 3 holes in the end there. And this is the cap for it. Again, it has a little hole. It's kind of just like a metering orifice, but this is not an air induction cap or an air induction nozzle. It just has liquid coming out of there just in a solid stream. You can get these in different sizes, as you can get those in different sizes and different fans, of course. And so the completed assembly would look like this, the rubber washer on the inside. And for the streaming nozzle, I don't have a rubber washer spare, and this is what it would look like. So of course you can take this out, just push it through. So that's different nozzles that we have. Once we get to the field, we'll show you the rotators. since getting this whole fantastic blend station operation, we no longer have any use for the induction tank on the sprayer. This is how we used to put all the chemical in. It has its own venturi right here that you can actually use to suck product out of the tank here into the sprayer using the sprayer pump. We don't use this anymore, so it's a handy dandy toolbox for me. I keep my extra screens and stuff in here. I keep a couple spare of every nozzle. That kind of stuff all stays in here, and when I don't drop the lid on the ground, makes a nice dust-proof area, and this stays out of the tractor cab and out of the tractor toolbox. All right, let's walk over and see how that meter's doing. All right, we're making progress here, only a couple more minutes. That electric pump does not screw around, I tell ya. Where are we at there? Yeah, almost 1,500 gallons already. Now, right about now, in that 1,500 and a bit-ish gallon range, we get to about 1,550. I'm actually gonna switch over to water and run the last 50 gallons or so as water, just to flush the hose out and everything, so that if I have to do anything else with that hose, fill a water truck or whatever, I'm not pumping fertilizer through. So we'll just shut off the pump, take the three-way, switch it over to water, because there's my water tank right there. Woo, 40,000 gallons in there. It's actually flowing right now, but we'll turn the pump on and we'll come finish over here. It'll only take a moment or two. Okay, so the way I have this set up is I'm just going to close this valve down here when that gets as full as I want it to get. Which is going to be presently here in a second. It's going to speed up right about there. So now if I can climb up here without stepping on my apron again, that's close enough for me. I get another 5 gallons in there, but then it might splash out. So we're going to call that good. Okay, so those of you who know anything about these pumps know there's a check valve right there. And so all this pressure that's been built up in the line, because I shut that valve and it couldn't go anywhere from there, say when you open that cam lock, it's going to spray everywhere. No, it's not. Because I'm going to bleed all the pressure out into the chem handler, and I can just suck that water up next time. Ha! So now when I pop these open, I'm going to get a little bit of water, but not a lot. I usually catch that, but I usually set 2 hands. We'll just leave that propped up right there. That way nothing can get in it. It's not in the way of anything. We're going to close a couple of valves just for safety's sake, and let's jump in the tractor and head to the field. Favorite sound. It's hard to believe here in Alberta, it's only the 14th or 15th of May, and we got crops up already. I've actually done an in-crop herbicide and a fertilizer streaming on there today, as well as on there today as our durum, the very first thing in, like April 26th, I think that went in. It's kind of crazy because some years we haven't even started seeding by now, and actually only a couple days ago a Facebook memory popped up and said we had a blizzard this day a few years ago. So man, weather can be wacko sometimes, eh? Speaking of wacky weather, here's our nice green lush pasture here, second week of May. This time last year when my parents were out checking cows, well, because we're calving right now actually, they only drove in the exact same spot in the pasture every single day, because wherever they drove, the grass was crumpled up and turned to dust and blew away. Whereas this year, it's green. It's quite wonderful. We've got about, not quite 100 pairs out there, well, I guess 100 cows, 75-ish pairs now I guess, and 130 acres. Cows are quite loving that, let me tell you. Takes a while to check them this way, but we sure like having on green grass. I digress. Let's go back to farming. Okay, we got this thing unfolded, so let's get started. Yeah, it's pretty big. It's 134 feet wide, 1,600 US gallons. It's about the biggest pull type that they made at the time here, North America anyways. I know across the pond they can get bigger. But what we got to do here is pretty straightforward. Let me put my gloves on. Okay, if you remember from earlier, we got the purple nozzle that we're the flat fan. We also got a green one. It's for something else. So all we got to do here, just go like that. Rotators. Awesome. Let's go over some sprayer stuff real fast. If you got a sprayer and you're getting it set up for yourself, put some valves on the end of the booms, because that way when you're changing products or at the beginning or the end of the season, or you've got a contamination issue, you just walk along, open up all the booms, and then you can just flush everything out. You won't have to take caps off, fart around, anything like that. Just makes sense. Also, strain it, strain it, strain it. That's the rule of anything liquid. So I've got, of course, the factory filter up on the front of the sprayer by the pump, and then I added all of these back here. So I've got the same filter mesh in here as I do up front, but if that front one ever ruptures, which it did this morning, these can really save your bacon. And if something just happens to get by it or it's not seated correctly, whatever, you still have your butt caught here. Always more filtration and make it easy. And if you've got an older sprayer, maybe only has a 2-inch fill on it, just put something like this in. It's really easy to do this. You drill the hole, you go in through the lid, you run a piece of wire from the lid down to here, you drop the bulkhead fitting in, it falls into the hole, you pull it through, you tighten it on, piece of cake. I can fill 1,600 gallons here in usually 8 minutes, sometimes less depending on what I'm putting in. Because most people have, of course, your chem handler at home, use your induction tank to hold all your extra goodies that you need for the sprayer, but you don't want it in the cab or in the toolbox of the tractor. And of course, always keep your rinse tank full of water, because having water is just handy as heck. Of course, in the toolbox in the tractor, make sure you got room to put your set of gloves. Being right by the engine here, they get warm, they get toasty after a few minutes. They are dry, I don't care how wet they are, they get dried if they're this close to the engine. Okay, after that brief distraction, let's get going here. There's 80 nozzles even on the sprayer, so it just takes a couple of minutes to get this switched over, except for the odd one that I haven't bothered to move the clamp on like that. But not a huge deal, but you get the idea, doesn't take very long. There you go, and that is all that it looks like. Oop, I got a weak one there I got to fix apparently. Okay, we're just getting into position here. We got 104 PSI static running through the sprayer. We got the booms on, we have the GPS ready. Hydraulic pump is on, booms are down on the ground where they're supposed to be. Everything is set. Let's go fertilize some wheat. Alright, this is what it looks like. Trucking along about 11, 12 miles an hour. Just finished the headland. Well, I hope that you have enjoyed this little video about turning the biological genocide machine into a plant feeding machine. I am now going to edit this video that hopefully you have watched all the way to the end of because you're fantastic. If you have any questions, of course, well, you know what to do with those. Thank you very much. See you next time.